Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome to Our Issues Birmingham. Today's guest, John Archibald, needs no introduction. Welcome to the show, John. He is a winner of a Pulitzer Prize. Really, he's a big deal. And he's working on a story right now that we had to get him on, and let's talk about it. How are you first?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I see you went away to Boston and you came back and you picked up right where you left off.
Well, it's good to get back to the roots, as it were, with a little looking under rocks.
Well, the Brookside situation, of course, is on everybody's mind almost every day for like 7 or 8 consecutive days, from what I can gather, which is a pretty long news cycle.
Almost a month.
Almost a month.
It'll be a month.
You know, I had COVID for a minute, so I may have.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I missed about 3 weeks. Yeah, it was a throat attacker. So if I sound a little raspy, that's why.
I hope you came through it okay.
I did, ultimately, or at least almost ultimately. So, I mean, it's quite apparent that they were up to generating revenue in some rather draconian ways, at least from my perspective as a criminal defense lawyer especially. And I do know that some of my lawyer friends, I'd never been to court in Brookside. I probably would not go to court in Brookside. And from some of the things I've read that you have written, at least one lawyer I know who prosecutes in another community brought it to the attention of the existing prosecutor that what he was doing he couldn't do, but they were doing it anyway. And then yesterday there was an event. Of course, we're taping this show on a Wednesday. Court was Monday, and the prosecutor didn't appear for the appeals that go from the municipal court to the circuit court level. And Judge Owens chunked those cases, and now they're awaiting consideration on his motion to reinstate them.
She actually ruled on those yesterday and denied that. So
I was going to say,
dismissed.
I said, let me guess. I'm guessing she denied them. Did she deny them?
She did deny them.
The reinstatement.
Correct.
So
they were dismissed in preliminary hearing, which is unusual.
Yeah, well, the way that works procedurally is when you take an appeal out of a municipal court into the circuit court, the lawyer words are, it's de novo, which means it starts over from the beginning, which is what de novo means, as if what had occurred in municipal court had never happened. So it's a fresh start at the circuit court level. So in any event, for the last month, and as we spoke before we went on tape, there was a little piece about this coming from our station, our sister station, back in 19, but it never went where you have taken it. So it seems like you've just walked into a real ant bed. Like an ant bed's been kicked and everything is crawling around.
Yeah, back in 19, Cynthia Gould did some really good reporting. I thought she talked to a lot of people who said they'd been taken out of jurisdiction and that sort of thing. But then they weathered that storm and it kind of went away. And from the looks of things, everything was just amped up after that, because there was some believe there was a feeling that they couldn't be touched. And the numbers themselves when your fines and fees go up 600% in the course of 2 years, and to the point where half of your city budget, half of your city revenue is based on fines and forfeitures, that's a giant red flag. And when the chief, he's since resigned, but when I put it to the chief, half your city budget, that jumps off the page, I think were the words I used. And he said, well, it should be more. And I think that when he said it should be more, if we had more police and more activity, we'd have more. I think that really struck a nerve among people who think that there's been, some predatory sort of policing there. And honestly, in 36 years of doing this job, I've never seen a story that generated as much response from people who said they had been victimized out there. I've never seen anything like it.
Well, and it continues. I mean, it's ongoing. As you said, it's been going on a month. Every day I open my app to AL.com and I see some new reporting. Do you think that the Attorney General's office is going to take it seriously and take some action?
I don't know. He has not responded to my questions. His office has neither confirmed nor denied. Representative Wandling has held several town halls and said that he is involved in some way. But I mean, I think the FBI has also been around, though they won't confirm or deny as well. But it's a real interesting question. Because this is one of the few stories that I've been a part of or have even seen in recent years in which people on the right and the left have both said, this is wrong. That, when you can't just stop people and take their stuff. And so it's been real gratifying to see that. But at the same time, the Attorney General has not been one to challenge law enforcement in any way. So I think that's a big question.
Well, it takes time. We're going to take a short break and we'll come back and get more into this in just a minute. Don't go away. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We're talking about the things going on in Brookside, Alabama, a little suburb north of Birmingham. So what exists in Jefferson County are 34, 5, 6 municipalities, all of which have police departments, city councils, garbage collectors, and municipal courts. I had the privilege of serving for 15 years as a municipal judge for the city of Vestavia under Mayor McCallum and Mayor Zaragoza. And one thing they never, ever did was cross-pollinate the branches of government. So they let me run the court, which is what the law says should occur. And the executive branch is over here, and the judicial branch is here, and then the legislative branch is over here. There seems to have been some cross-pollination in Brookside. And what would be the executive branch, which would be law enforcement, has sort of taken over. I don't know how a municipal judge signs off on something along the lines of what's been signed off on unless it's presented to him by a prosecutor. The judge in a municipal court doesn't know the case, never knows the facts of the case until the cases are presented in a trial setting. A municipal judge sits as both the judge and the jury in that context. So I don't know. Are you finding that people felt threatened and coerced into agreeing to do certain things, paying fines, just to get the hell out of there?
Oh, yeah. There have been an awful lot of people who felt like they had no recourse but to just pay the fine and get out, even though they didn't think they did it, and they were offered. Well, let me just back up and say, if you go to court in Brookside, population 1,253, which incidentally is a quarter of the size of the fictional town of Mayberry.
Huh.
And they started out in 2018 with 2 police officers, 1 full-time police officer and part-timer. And then in the 2-year period, they had hired, 9 more and got up to 14 police officers with 10 vehicles. And you go to court, they direct traffic into a field. People line up for hours to go to court. They bring the drug sniffing dogs back out to the parking lot. And,
oh no!
And go through to try to get, see if anybody else is there. You go into court. You either plead and pay the fine, or you say you plan to fight it, and then they set it for another day. You will be sent to the back room to talk to the prosecutor, Parnell, and see if you can come to an agreement. And then you come back out and take your medicine. And almost everybody who goes is facing a load of tickets that include everything from they're often stopped for tag light violations. And then you'll get stacks of charges that include, everything from driving in the left lane to anything else. And one of I think you mentioned a charge that was appealed to circuit court yesterday. One of those involved a claim by a lawyer that after he and his client left Brookside to appeal to circuit court on 7 charges, the judge added 9 more after they had gone, and they were never even notified of it.
That's just procedurally incredible to understand how that could possibly happen. And
an awful lot of people say none of this could have been allowed to happen if without the knowledge of the judge and the prosecutor.
Well, does it stretch into, I know the mayor has come out and said, look, this is wrong. We're stopping, we're changing. Of course, the resignations came from the police chief, the assistant chief who had his own problems in Hoover.
And elsewhere.
And elsewhere. The prosecutor maintains everything is okay. I think. I'm taking it that the judge has not made a comment, and probably best that he not.
The judge, when I asked for comment, I asked for comment in the wake of State Representative Van demanding his resignation. And I thought this was the most telling thing. He said, I'm not going to resign. And he referred questions to the prosecutor. The judge referred questions to the prosecutor. Now, you as a municipal judge, can you imagine deferring your comment on your job position to the prosecutor?
Well, as a municipal judge, the cases that came for me to sign off on were all handled by him first. So he reaches the agreement with the charged person or the charged person's lawyer. My function is either to hear the evidence in a trial setting and make a decision on guilt or innocence, or to just sign off.
Somebody says,
pardon me?
Tommy Spina, I demand your resignation as municipal judge. Would you say, no, but I refer questions to the prosecutor?
I don't think I would refer it to my good friend Michael Trucks, who was the prosecutor. He wouldn't appreciate that. But I probably would elect in that instance, depending on what the circumstances are, to just not make a comment. But let's talk more about that when we come back from break. This is Our Issues Birmingham. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Our Issues Birmingham. We're touching on some touchy subjects in the criminal justice system, particularly surrounding the events occurring in Brookside, Alabama. But, as a municipal judge in this dynamic, there's if a crime is being committed out there and it's circling, a better thing for him to say would be nothing and take advantage of the Fifth Amendment that he has a right to assert if you're the subject or the target of a criminal investigation. And the same would be true for anyone, whether it be the chief, the assistant chief, as a criminal defendant. But we're not hearing that they're being charged just yet. And if they are going to get charged with something, especially in the federal system, it would be a violation of the civil rights statute. And there's a provision over there for that. So I don't know. It doesn't make me feel good about being a lawyer, knowing that other lawyers are conducting business the way they were conducting business. So I apologize to the viewership, but every profession has some outliers. And
that's true. That's true along the board. I mean, that's true. So many police officers have been upset about what they've been doing out there because it makes them look bad, and it makes every one of their stops, they feel like more dangerous, because when a person only has a negative experience with police, the next one is is going to be less pleasant. And there's been a lot of concern among area police departments about what's been going on down there. And but what can't get lost is just the dozens and dozens of cases of people who cite just terrible treatment, ranging from made up charges to horrible experiences with the officers, to seizures that seem to be illegal, to jail conditions, to just bullying. And so many people have found voice to speak up in the wake of this that it's, it really might make a difference.
What's particularly sad is that most citizens' only contact with the judicial system is through the municipal courts. I mean, not everybody gets indicted in federal court. Not everybody gets charged with a crime in state court. But practically everybody has to deal with a traffic violation. So your taste of the judicial system at the municipal court level needs to be something different than what it's been out there to feel that you're being treated fairly.
Right.
That's how I viewed it. I always felt I was somewhat of an ambassador for the city. I wanted people to certainly have a consequence to whatever it is that they did. I think I was dismissed because I had somewhat, at least in part, we had a new mayor come in, and at least in part, I had a therapeutic jurisprudence point of view. So I had schools for everybody to attend. Because, kids with speeding tickets that get convicted and fined are just punishing the parents with increased insurance premium. So you want to try to modify behavior in those situations. And you can do that at that court level. I don't know.
One of the things, when I set out to do this, I started down the path on this project of criminalization of poverty, right? Because we always talk about people who are the poorest among us, who get caught in these cycles of fines and fees. And while you or I might be able to just pay and move on with our life, a lot of people get stuck in these things and they can't get out. But we write about that from time to time, and it has very little resonance because a lot of readers can't envision themselves in that situation, perhaps. But the thing about Brookside is that I think it resonated so much, and it resonated across the country in a large way, because everybody has a Brookside, they say, but nobody across the lines wants to think that they are prey on the highway and that they can have their stuff taken. It is a unifying thing, and that I think is why people took notice, and that's why I hope that the results of this can extend beyond Brookside to the point where we, for once and for all, say this is not good for our police, it's not good for law enforcement, and it doesn't make economic sense.
Well, I have maintained for quite a while, and some of it goes to the state. I think they bear some responsibility when they legislate court costs. They are essentially taxing the people who can least afford to pay it. For example, a speeding ticket is $185 in most jurisdictions. I don't know what it is in Brookside. My guess is it's more.
I have it right here.
Oh, good. I'd like to hear it. Of the $185, 165 of those dollars are court costs that are dispersed not to the city. City gets a small fraction of it, but it goes to the state. It goes to this fund and that fund and this fund. What's the speeding charge in Brookside?
I said I had it here, but I've got a stack of papers and I can't find it. I know that the city
is it more than $185?
The city takes $16, I think, and the rest goes to, as you know, the municipal court funds, the 15 different funds.
Yes.
Very but complex. It's a real issue, and again, you or I, most people run a stop sign or are charged with running a stop sign. We submit the money, we might think about it again. We might not. But if we put on a long-term payment plan and have to pay it for, have a warrant issued, that sort of thing, it can last a while.
Well, we could talk forever on this subject. We don't have forever. I appreciate you taking the time to be with us. We're going to call it a day right now. Perhaps we'll follow up and see how things progress going forward and circle back with you a little later. I hope you'll agree to be with us. This is Our Issues Birmingham. Thanks for being with us this Sunday. We'll see you next week. And thank you, John.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.